Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are in the Ibuki, a terrifying ship with 10 203mm guns that spit out some pretty nasty Japanese HE. The ship also has decent AP, as well as a complement of torpedoes, decent armor, and decent maneuverability. This ship kind of has it all. Now, obviously, the guns are not really in the best firing angles towards the front, but that lends you to put yourself in more of a defensive position. Now, I made a video on my channel a long time ago talking about how I didn't really like these ships, and they are still not my most favorite to play, but with the legendary mods and putting these ships in the right position, you can absolutely rack up the damage, abuse the enemy, and be a benefit for your team. Now, the issue is you kind of have to get the right game. And what I mean by that is your team has to do their job. Their destroyers have to spot and cap. Your battleships have to attract a little bit of damage. Now, these cruisers are actually pretty good at angling, dodging, and attracting some damage on their own. If you look at the stats here from the Ibuki, now obviously I only have a few games. When I got this picture, this is at the end of this game, but you will notice the average attracted damage is actually more than some of my legendary tier battleships. Now that will probably go down the more games I play in this ship, and I have since played more, but I'm just too lazy to take another screenshot. But talking about that, if you can put the ship in this defensive position, abuse the enemy, and kind of draw them out and allow them to chase you while attracting a bunch of damage, that allows your team to get themselves into, winning position. Now, that being said, this team doesn't want to do that for most of this game. So there's not much you can do if your team doesn't want anything to do with winning. We all know the frustration. I feel like it's definitely gotten worse this update with training rooms added, but again, we feel like we say that every update, and there's a prime example of our Des Moines going broadside in a cap in the first 2 minutes. I have no idea what that guy was thinking, but yeah. Anyway, your job in a cruiser is the most versatile class in the game. And of course, your primary objective in a cruiser should be really focusing out destroyers. But that's more so for the radar style or the radar class, like the Americans, the Russians. And again, anytime you see a destroyer in a cruiser, you should absolutely be taking a shot at it. With your shorter to medium reload and those medium caliber guns, you will absolutely blap destroyers. But for a ship like the Ibuki here, attracting a little bit of damage and dishing out a lot of damage is a better use of your ship. Now, if you want to slap rudder onto these mobile class of cruisers and zoom around, that's fine. A problem that I found, though, is your turrets are often turned in the wrong direction. Utilizing your rudder instead of utilizing position. What we mean by position is you will notice our angle here. Yes, the main may get a penetration, but as soon as, and that's why I use overview camera, right? As soon as that main locks on or looks our direction, we're going to go ahead and close that angle even more. Number one, it decreases the amount of surface area that guy has to hit. There is a chance that he gets maybe one shell to land for a Citadel and plunging fire, but by decreasing your angle, decreasing your ship profile, you're also increasing your armor angle, and these ships have pretty decent armor belts. You bounce a lot of shells in this position. The trick is trying to get ships to chase you. If they don't, you have to push into them, and that kind of leads you into the same position we were talking about with the Repulse the other day. People in that video were like, well, she's a flanker, you have to use her speed. Well, yes, but after you push yourself into a flank with the speed, you either have to turn around or push in. So people were, they just didn't understand that concept. But here we're talking, this is a perfect example, right? I can either continue kiting and trying to farm that main and allow that gearing to get pretty much ultimate position on us, or we can push in here. Now, a problem I run into with my build is I have a little bit of extra added range that will get me spotted. Some people run certain ships at 20 kilometers, and I will say to my battleship mains, cruiser ranges in this game don't make a lot of sense. It's not really the cruiser ranges, but it's the decrease of the battleship ranges. Wargaming, wanted this game to be fast and for dumb 25-year-olds that just, like to buy American battleships. They didn't really take the time to make it similar to PC. So they wanted the engagement ranges a bunch closer, but they didn't really nerf cruiser ranges all that much, or they didn't think about the cruiser commander skills, which give us an extra, 20% range. But anyway, here we have moved in and utilized a little bit of our speed, a little bit of our mobility as a cruiser. The gearing got caught. Our Yamato actually kind of did his job. He forced that gearing to kind of come out here, and this gearing has no chance. We went ahead and popped the hydro. In the meantime, when I was blabbering on about that other topic, we actually got the kill as we whiff a salvo there, the kill on the main with that double fire. So we have ticked up an extra 10% damage, and this gearing stands no chance. If he were to, the only play he could have made would to be not to shoot, but alas, he did, and he is no longer in the game for it. Now, if you guys will notice, we actually killed all 3 ships on our side, did a nice damage total. Now, obviously, we did not do all of the damage to all of those ships, but our Des Moines, well, no comments. Let's say our Yamato helped at the very least. And here we're actually pretty evenly tied. This game is ticking in our favor, except we just lost that main. Before the loss of that main, we were tied on ships, and we would have been ahead on caps. Our gearing was or is in the B cap here, trying to get that. Now, obviously, that Kaba has moved in, and you will see very quickly this gearing put himself in a rough spot. Your main job as a destroyer, besides getting the spots and the caps, is to live. Now, I won't fault this gearing. He's in the cap, right? He's trying to do his job. But it's the same thing as that Des Moines, right? That Des Moines was so gung-ho on rushing in and radaring that he got dev struck, right? So you have to understand there's a fine line between doing your job and being dead. So if you're dead, you can't do your job. But looking at the position and what my team needs, right, talking about that other, our cruiser video with the Petro and just positioning, my team needs me to set up a crossfire. Now, I do not have the massive alpha strike that a battleship has, and look at that beautiful, if we were in any battleship, tier 8, tier 7 to legendary, we could obliterate that Yamato, but unfortunately we are not, so the only thing we can do is DPM. Now, obviously, the destroyer is this Kaba is spotted here, so we're going to try and take shots at him. But unfortunately, our 2 battleships and our 1 cruiser are, I don't know, that cruiser on the C cap, I don't know what he's not even on the C cap, he's on the 9 line, I don't know what he's doing. Now, obviously, I didn't experience the game from his perspective, so I don't know what happened, maybe he had to kite away, but considering we have the C cap, he shouldn't have had to kite that far, but anyway, we can only play our game, right? So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is DPM. I'm going to try and move into a position to put myself in a winning spot. Commenting on that gearing, like I said, he was doing his job, but at that point in the game, the longer a destroyer lives, the more valuable they become. So if you're a destroyer and you've learned to make it past the 5-minute mark, try to make it past the 10-minute mark. Now, something that you should not do in a destroyer is flank around the entire back of the map trying to get torpedoes on target. We see that so often. It is so frustrating. It's always Shima players. I don't know why some people just like to use 4.6 kilometer concealment. Play the game you want to, however you want, but realize that you're not really helping your team. Now here I'm utilizing a little bit of concealment, and that is when my last ship goes down. So like we were talking about, we've done 100k damage, sunk all the ships on our side, grabbed the cap, and we've actually defended the B cap for a good amount of time. And our team has just said, yeah, we want nothing to do with winning. So this game is turned into a damage farm session for me. But if you'll notice, you look at these shots, that's 2 salvos from 2 separate Yamatos, and they didn't hit a shell. No rudder needed for that dodge. We just paid attention to our surroundings, slightly angled out, and now we did, of course, play with our throttle, which is, I think, a little bit more effective, putting yourself kind of in this position. Now, this is not going to last forever, especially with the overmatch of the Yamato. We can't really bounce many of their shells, and this is a prime example of that. But I'm just trying to separate my targets out here. Like we mentioned early on, if your team wants nothing to do with winning, your build, your commanders, none of that is going to matter. And that to me is one of the bigger problems. People think it's like, oh, well, this ship's better than that. My build is better than yours. And sure, some builds are going to be a lot more beneficial to other ships, but we're running a mostly DPM build. With minimal agility, and we've dodged a good amount of shells. No, obviously we just got touched by those Yamatos, and we're going to continue to get touched here because we are the only available target. But throughout most of this game, we were able to mitigate a lot of that damage. Now, some people are going to argue, yes, if I was aggressive, then maybe my team would have had a better chance. But my team had the game tied, and we were in a good position, and they just dropped their pants in seconds. So, like I said, you can be aggressive early on, or you can be aggressive late. I choose to let the game develop most of the time, and it usually pays off in that regard. Now, sometimes aggression pays off, but these are not necessarily the ships to do so, especially the Japanese with their rear-facing torpedoes, their rear-facing guns, and that. Now, the French, potentially some aggressive ships, as well as the Italians with their smoke screens. The game is set up to create a nice balance, of different style of ships. I feel like there's two types of ships between classes. For example, gunboats and torp boats. Mobile cruisers, and then heavy, stationary cruisers. And then we've got brawling battleships, as well as, sniping battleships. Now, of course, sometimes there's even subclasses in that, and you can spec, ships different for each of those. But if you kind of mold your ship into that role and throw it into the game, then yeah, you can have some success as we take a nice damage total here, and just farm a little bit of XP as this game is over. But I wanted to put this video out for a little dedicated video for Mr. Miko here. Obviously, this game is over, and I'm just kind of farming damage at this point. But if the game was a touch closer, if we had one or two more teammates, maybe that I don't know, put themselves in a better spot as we get the nice Arsonist medal, the make Battleship angry medal, then this game may have turned out a little bit differently. 4 kills, 13 fires, 1 solo cap in a cruiser, and 7 defends. So just pay attention to your positioning, pay attention to what your team needs, and play different styles of ships, right? I was a little, I guess, ignorant early on. I really wanted to win all the time, and if that's your philosophy, that's fine. I still like to win. It frustrates me sometimes when games like this occur, but I guess I've played so many that I'm just kind of numb to it at this point. People are still just going to go out and scream. I had a guy yesterday screaming that, he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And he died like 3 minutes in Oshima. It's like, dude, what are you doing? But if you want to win, that's fine. But I recommend trying different ships, so that way you know how to counter those ships. Some people are like, "Well, I didn't know it had radar." It's like, well, have you ever played the cruisers? Oh, well, no. It's like, okay. The battleship mains are the worst, right? And I've been playing a lot more battleships. You guys have seen it. The battleship mains are like, well, these destroyers, they're invisible. Well, maybe if you go play destroyers, and I will say destroyer concealment is somewhat of a meme, but if you go out and try and play the destroyer class and play different classes, you'll realize, oh, if I'm spotted and torpedoes are coming from that angle, then yeah, maybe I should not sail in a straight line. So just a little bit of a piece of friendly advice as we tick a nice little damage total for the end of this game here. But guys, that is one of our Ibuki games. We've had a lot of decent games in this ship. We'll probably trying to get a better game for you guys. A 22-45 on a loss there. Would have been around 3,500 XP on a win, but like I said, sometimes your team just wants nothing to do with winning. And here are the stats. I don't know if you could have seen them earlier on that screenshot. It was a little bit minimized, but 1,300,000 attracted damage. So again, your job in a cruiser is not 100% attracted damage as it is in a battleship, but part of it is. So if you can put your ship in a middle position where you can damage destroyers, defend the cap, dish out damage, and attract damage, your team will benefit greatly, because that is, if people are shooting at you, then a lot of, they're not shooting at your teammates. Now, sometimes your teammates still make it a mission just to die anyway, but hey, that is the game. That is World of Warships Legends. Can't win them all. But yeah, guys, that's the video. Just did a quick little video. I will be doing a top 3 or whatever on the, whatever we decide. Like I said, there's been a few other videos out on the Azure Lane Commanders, but stay tuned for that. So hope you guys had a great day. Love you guys. Aaron out. Peace.